Failure is not the end. It is a doorway to something greater. Many people see failure as the closing of a chapter, a final judgment on their worth, or a sign that they should give up. Yet, in reality, failure is often the very tool that shapes the path toward victory. Life is a journey with peaks and valleys, and the valleys are not the conclusion. They are the places where strength is built. When you fall, it might feel like you have been disqualified from your calling or dream, but in truth, you are being prepared for it in ways you may not yet see. The end of one attempt does not mean the end of the mission. It means the mission is about to take a different, often better form. History is filled with those who refuse to let failure write their story. They understood that falling is not permanent unless you choose to stay down. Every inventor, every leader, every person who made a mark on the world has faced setbacks. Some of them failed so many times that the world might have called them hopeless, but they pressed forward. They knew that the journey to success was built through lessons learned in defeat. When you embrace this truth, failure becomes less frightening. It becomes a teacher. In moments of failure, it's easy to believe that you have reached your limit. But in reality, you are standing at the starting line of something new. The human spirit is designed to grow stronger through challenges. Muscles grow when they are torn and rebuilt. The same principle applies to the soul. Your capacity for courage, wisdom, and faith expands when it is tested. A fall forces you to reevaluate, to seek new solutions, and to confront weaknesses you might never have addressed otherwise. Think of the seed buried in the soil. It looks like it has been lost, swallowed by the ground, but what is really happening is transformation. The seed must be hidden before it can break open and grow. Likewise, when you face failure, it may feel like you've been buried, but you are actually being planted. This process is uncomfortable, but it is necessary for your next stage of growth. So the next time you fall, resist the urge to see it as the end. Instead, see it as a refining fire, shaping you into a stronger and more determined person. Let it strip away what does not belong and let it point you toward the next opportunity. You are not defined by the fall. You are defined by the rise that follows. And when you choose to rise, you prove that failure was never your enemy. It was your stepping stone to a higher place. Throughout history and in the pages of Scripture, we find countless examples of men and women who faced devastating falls, yet rose to fulfill extraordinary purposes. These stories are not just ancient records, they are living lessons for us today. They show that a fall does not disqualify you from destiny. It often becomes the very turning point that leads you there. These examples remind us that the greatest victories are often born from the deepest struggles. Consider Joseph, betrayed by his own brothers and sold into slavery. By every human standard, his fall was complete. He had lost his family, his freedom, and his future. Yet, what seemed like the end was the beginning of a path that would place him in a position to save nations. His imprisonment was not his grave, it was his classroom, preparing him for leadership and teaching him the wisdom and humility that power alone could never give. Or think of David, the shepherd boy who rose to be king. Before he could wear the crown, he faced seasons of danger, rejection, and hiding in caves while fleeing for his life. These falls were not signs that his anointing was gone. They were seasons of training, refining his heart, and strengthening his faith so that when he did rise, he would be ready to lead with courage and justice. The same pattern appears in the lives of great figures in history. Abraham Lincoln faced repeated political defeats before becoming one of the most influential leaders in American history. Thomas Edison failed thousands of times in his experiments before perfecting the light bulb. They understood that a fault was not final. It was a step in the process of creation and achievement. Even more, these examples show us that the measure of a person's greatness is not how few times they fall, but how they respond when they do. The world often celebrates only the final victory, but the road to that moment is paved with challenges, rejections, and moments when quitting would have been easier than continuing. Those who rise again carry a deeper strength because they have been tested and proven in the fire of adversity. When we read these stories, we are not meant to admire them from a distance. We are meant to apply them to our own lives. If Joseph could rise from a pit to a palace, if David could rise from exile to a throne, if inventors and leaders could rise after countless failures, then so can you. Your story is still being written. And the chapter of your fall may be the very one that sets up your greatest victory. The truth remains the same. The ones who change the world are rarely the ones who never fall, but the ones who refuse to stay down. The same God, the same principles, and the same power that lifted them can lift you as well. Nature itself is a profound teacher of life's spiritual truths, and one of its clearest lessons is found in the seasons. Every autumn, leaves fall from the trees, the air grows colder, and the land appears barren. To the casual observer, it may seem like the world is dying. Yet we know this is not the end. It is a necessary part of the cycle that will lead to the renewal of spring. In the same way, every fall in life can be the start of a season of growth and transformation, even if it first appears to be a time of loss. In autumn, the tree lets go of its leaves, not because it is defeated, but because it is wise. It releases what it no longer needs in order to conserve strength and survive the winter. Our own falls in life often strip us of things we thought were essential: relationships, plans, positions, or comforts. But this stripping away is often part of the preparation for a greater season to come. If the tree held onto its leaves in the snow, it would risk breaking under the weight. In the same way, if we cling to what no longer serves our purpose, we may be unable to carry the new blessings that are meant for us. Winter may feel like silence, a pause, or even a punishment. But under the surface, unseen by the human eye, life is being renewed. Roots grow deeper, the soil rests, and the tree is being prepared to bloom again. In our own lives, a fall can lead to a season where we feel hidden or forgotten. Yet, in that hidden place, important work is being done, strengthening our foundation, deepening our faith, and refining our character. When spring arrives, the change is undeniable. What was once bare is now alive with new color, fragrance, and fruit. The tree does not merely return to its former state. It often grows stronger and more beautiful than before. Likewise, when we rise from a fall, we can emerge not just restored to where we were, but transformed into something greater. The fall was not the end. It was the beginning of renewal. Nature repeats this cycle every year without fail, and it does so with certainty, as if it knows that the winter is not forever. This is the mindset we must adopt. When we fall, we must remember that our winter is temporary and that spring is already on its way. The loss we feel now is preparing the way for new life, new strength, and new opportunities. If the Creator has written this truth into the rhythms of the earth, then surely it is also written into the rhythms of our lives. Every fall is a chance to let go, to grow deeper, and to prepare for the day when we will rise again, stronger, wiser, and ready for the next season of abundance. When we face setbacks, it is easy to see them only as losses, but in truth, they are often part of a refining process. Just as gold is purified in the fire, our character, faith, and resilience are strengthened through trials. A fall does not come to destroy you. It comes to shape you into someone capable of handling greater responsibilities and blessings. Without the refining, the raw material of our lives may remain unprepared for the purpose ahead. Think about the way a blacksmith works with metal. The metal is placed into intense heat until it becomes malleable. It is then hammered, shaped, and cooled before the process repeats. Each time the metal becomes stronger and more refined. In the same way, life's falls and struggles are like the furnace and the hammer. They may feel painful in the moment, but they are forming you into a vessel that can carry the weight of your calling. Many people pray for strength, wisdom, or patience, yet are surprised when life sends situations that require those very qualities. The truth is, you cannot gain strength without resistance, wisdom without mistakes, or patience without waiting. The refining process is not a punishment. It is the answer to your prayer. When you fall, you are being given an opportunity to learn lessons that success alone could never teach you. Consider a diamond. Before it shines with beauty, it begins as a rough stone. It must be cut, shaped, and polished, a process that involves removing large portions of the original form. This removal is necessary for the diamond to reach its potential. In the same way, your fall may strip away pride, fear, or unhealthy attachments. While it may feel like you are losing, in reality you are gaining a purer, stronger, and more valuable version of yourself. The refining process also has a way of clarifying your vision. When you are stripped of distractions and comforts, you begin to see what truly matters. Many people only discover their deepest values, strengths, and callings in the midst of difficulty. A fall forces you to evaluate where you are, who you are becoming, and what you are truly meant to do. If you avoid the refining, you also avoid the transformation. But if you embrace it, you will rise from your fall, not just recovered, but renewed. You will carry a strength that cannot be shaken because it has been tested. You will walk with a humility that makes you approachable and a wisdom that makes you effective. In the end, the refining process is not about breaking you. It is about making you unbreakable. The fire you endure today is the very thing that will enable you to shine tomorrow. Every fall is simply another step in the Creator's process of molding you into the person you were always meant to be. Perspective changes everything. Two people can experience the same fall, the same failure, yet emerge with entirely different outcomes, not because of the event itself, but because of how they see it. One may view it as the end of their journey, while the other sees it as a necessary detour that can lead to something greater. The difference lies in perspective. If you see every fall as a dead end, you will stop moving. But if you see it as a chance to learn, grow, and redirect your path, you will rise stronger than before. Imagine a mountain climber halfway to the summit who slips and falls a few steps back. They could focus on the distance lost and give in to despair, or they could focus on the fact that they are still on the mountain and still have the strength to climb again. The fall didn't erase all progress. It simply revealed that the path might need a different approach. Perspective transforms frustration into fuel and turns obstacles into opportunities. History is filled with individuals who chose to reinterpret their failures. They asked, what can I learn from this? Instead of why did this happen to me? This shift in thinking is powerful because it takes you out of the role of a victim and places you in the role of a student. As a student of life, you begin to see that falls are not random. They are moments rich with lessons that can prepare you for your next step. A negative perspective keeps you focused on the pain of the fall, which blinds you to the possibilities ahead. A positive, growth-oriented perspective opens your eyes to solutions you might have otherwise missed. Sometimes the very thing you thought was a setback was actually a redirection toward a better opportunity. A closed door may feel like rejection, but it can also be protection from something that would have harmed your future. Your perspective also influences the people around you. If you face a fall with bitterness, you spread discouragement. But if you face it with courage and determination, you inspire others to do the same. Leaders, parents, teachers, and friends all have the power to shape the perspective of those in their circle simply by how they respond to difficulty. Choosing the right perspective does not mean ignoring the pain or pretending everything is fine. It means acknowledging the reality of the fall while refusing to let it define you. It means believing that there is purpose, even in the hardest moments. This mindset allows you to keep moving forward, even when the road is steep and uncertain. In the end, perspective is the lens through which you see your life. Change the lens, and you change the outcome. When you choose to see every fall as a setup for a greater rise, you position yourself for victory. And often that very perspective is the key that unlocks the breakthrough you've been waiting for. Every fall carries within it a divine purpose, though in the moment it may be hard to see. We often interpret a setback as a sign of failure, weakness, or even punishment. But many times it is allowed for reasons far greater than our immediate understanding. There is a higher plan at work, one that sees the end from the beginning. And sometimes that plan requires a fall to position us where we need to be. What feels like a disruption in your life may actually be a strategic move toward your true destiny. Throughout life, we encounter doors that close, opportunities that vanish, and paths that end abruptly. At first glance, it may seem like loss, but in reality, it may be protection. You might think you were ready for a certain position, relationship, or dream, but only later realize that had you stepped into it too soon, it could have damaged you or limited your potential. A fall can be the Creator's way of guiding you away from what would have hindered your future and leading you toward what will help you grow. Consider the story of someone who loses a job unexpectedly. In the moment, fear and disappointment flood their heart. Yet that loss becomes the catalyst that pushes them into starting their own business or finding work that aligns with their true calling. Without the fall, they might have stayed in comfort and never discovered their greater purpose. Sometimes the divine purpose of a fall is to deepen your faith and dependence. When everything is going well, it is easy to rely on your own strength and resources. But when you fall, you are reminded that your strength alone is not enough. This humbling experience opens the door to trust in a power greater than yourself. It is in these moments that faith is not just a belief. It becomes an anchor that holds you steady when the storms rage. A fall can also prepare you for greater influence and responsibility. Before you can carry the weight of greater blessings, you must first be trained to handle the pressures that come with them. Trials and setbacks test your patience, refine your character, and teach you to lead with wisdom and compassion. Without these lessons, success can be fleeting and even destructive. It is important to remember that divine purpose often reveals itself gradually. At first, the fall may seem senseless, but over time, you will look back and see how every step, even the painful ones, was part of a perfectly woven plan. You may realize that the fall placed you in the right place at the right time, prepared you for the right opportunity, or connected you with the right people. When you understand that every fall can carry a divine purpose, you stop asking, "Oh, why me?" and start asking, "Oh, what is this teaching me? Where is this leading me?" In that shift, despair turns into hope, and the fall becomes not a mark of defeat, but a sign that you are being prepared for something far greater than you imagined. When you experience a fall, it is not enough to simply get back on your feet. You must rise with intentionality. This means taking practical steps that transform the lessons of your fall into the foundation for your future. Without action, a fall can repeat itself. But with deliberate change, every fall can become the launching pad for a stronger, wiser, and more purposeful life. The first step is to reflect honestly on what happened. This is not about self-condemnation or dwelling on guilt, but about seeking understanding. Ask yourself, what led to this fall? Were there warning signs I ignored? Was I relying too heavily on my own strength? Honest reflection allows you to identify the patterns, habits, or decisions that need to be addressed so that the same mistakes are not repeated. The second step is to learn from the fall. Every failure carries a lesson, and wisdom comes from extracting that lesson before moving forward. It may be a lesson in patience, humility, discipline, or the need for better preparation. Whatever the lesson, write it down, internalize it, and let it shape your decisions in the future. If you fail to learn, the fall will have been wasted. The third step is to adjust your strategy. Doing the same thing in the same way will likely produce the same result. If a certain approach failed, find a new one. This may involve seeking counsel from those who have walked a similar path, reading, training, or simply approaching your goal from a different angle. Adjustment is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of wisdom and adaptability. The fourth step is to strengthen your foundation. Just as a building must have a solid base to withstand storms, you must have strong values, habits, and disciplines in place to support your rise. This might mean improving your time management, deepening your spiritual life, or cultivating healthier relationships. A strong foundation ensures that when you rise again, you can sustain your progress. The fifth step is to take action. A rise does not happen by wishful thinking. It happens by movement. Start small if you must, but start. Momentum builds confidence, and confidence fuels persistence. Even if your steps are slow, each one brings you closer to the life you are rebuilding. Finally, surround yourself with encouragement. Rising is easier when you have voices of hope speaking into your life. Avoid those who constantly remind you of your fault and walk with those who believe in your ability to rise. Their faith in you can help reignite your own faith in yourself. Practical action steps turn theory into reality. Reflection, learning, lay your foundation, taking consistent action, and walking with encouragers. These are the building blocks of rising from a fall. When you commit to them, your fall becomes a turning point rather than a stopping point, and your story becomes one of resilience, growth, and ultimate victory.